Bye-bye.
Right, the time is now 6:30. I'm going to call to order the regular meeting of the Tilton Planning Board for Tuesday, November 25th, 2014. Looks like we have a big crowd. I hope you're not all out turkey hunting, but welcome. Our first case is a continuation of Planning Board Case 1414. It's a site plan review proposal for Autumn Drive. So I would like to ask Bob, are you going to present, or is Eric, or are you going, okay?
I'm going to. Is it okay to sit here? Do you want me to come forward?
Whatever you'd like to do, whatever makes
What's
you more
better for you
comfortable.
guys? I'll come up for a minute.
Okay.
And it's okay to sit. First of all, good evening. I'm Paul Manzioni. I'm an attorney, and Steve Nix was the attorney who started this application. It represents the applicant, and of course, this is Bob Callahan's company that's owned this property. Steve is starting his Thanksgiving break a little early, so, and when this came on calendar, by the way, he had airline tickets, so he couldn't be here. But he asked me to be here to represent the applicant tonight in his place. And I did have an opportunity to review a lot of the pertinent documents and to go to the site, so I feel sufficiently familiar with the issues and to be able to do this and to answer questions and so forth after I have an opportunity to present this. One of the things I'd like to note right from the beginning is the application itself is asking for the first two items on the agenda as described. And that is the indoor fitness center, which is essentially a fitness center which already exists. It's been completely approved, both in terms of site plan, in terms of any required variances at the time. So it's really a situation on that first item of putting equipment in upstairs and operating that equipment. It's not so much the place functions in general with all kinds of physical activity, and fitness center is just another aspect of that for the upstairs. So that's what the first item is. And then the second item is very straightforward. It's a request for approval to expand the hours of operation from 5 a.m. to 10 p.m. Actually, 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. Would be appropriate, and that would be an amendment to the request. I think it's also important to note that this is actually an application to amend the site plan review. This is a fully approved site plan. We're only asking to amend it for those two things, to put the stuff in upstairs and operate that fitness center with weights and the other equipment and so forth that's located up there, and then to expand the hours of operation. Now, as I reviewed this, and it does have a lengthy history, but it has a lengthy history because on this particular project, and I trust that you members are all familiar with it, Bob Callahan and his company have kept the town involved in this thing at every phase. I mean, everything that's been done out there, they have come before the planning board and obtained site plan approval on more than one occasion. They've been to the ZBA for all appropriate variances, including, by the way, most recently, which was a few weeks ago, where they went before the zoning board of adjustment, and they obtained an appropriate variance with regard to the medical or really health offices. And the reason I said medical offices, if you look at your agenda for this evening, the last item that you folks have described here is allow medical offices, and then the item before that is utilize the facility as a function hall. Those two things are not in this application this evening. This is an application simply to amend the already fully approved site plan. It's to do so in a very limited manner, and that is to have the equipment and the operation of that equipment on the second floor, which again is part and parcel of what the facility already is to begin with. And secondly, to expand the hours from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. We are happy to talk about the other two items that are on the agenda, the utilize the facility as a function hall and allow medical offices. And to clarify on both those things, they're not medical offices per se, and the granting of the variance, of course, makes that very clear as well. This is like a wellness center. The variance that was granted said, of course, no invasive procedures. There's not bio-waste or anything like that that one might see at a clinic or a medical office where, you know, little small medical procedures would be performed. None of that goes on there. There are no medical personnel in those offices per se. There are licensed therapists there and nutritionists. This is all around the concept of a wellness center, a fitness center. So, I mean, this is a project that not only has the applicant and owner have the town involved at every stage of it. Everything has been fully approved, all appropriate variances and site plan. But it's also the kind of center that is absolutely, I hope you'll agree, wonderful for the town. I mean, if you think about other commercial activities that could be here, that indoor turf field for kids to come and play soccer and organize sports. And by the way, utilize the facility as a function hall. While I'm on the subject of that indoor turf field, it's not a function hall in the sense of what a function hall truly is under a zoning use. Function halls typically refer to a place where someone would book a wedding or any other kind of major event, and usually that's all they do. They function for such events. You have parties and weddings, and that's all it is. That isn't it at all. What happens as part of the fitness center, the organized teams or the kids who come and play soccer there or whatever, or people who utilize the fitness center, they do offer an opportunity for kids to have birthday parties there, which, by the way, I have young kids, and I've been to probably every sports center in the greater area here, every one of them, where the kids come in and play indoor soccer on Saturdays and Sundays or after school in the late afternoons, and believe me, I have to travel to these places when the kids are having indoor soccer. They all sell hot dogs, they all sell pizza, they all have popcorn, they all sell cold drinks and water. It's part and parcel of what a fitness center is. And these kids come with the team and they come with their friends, and when it's their birthday, they can have the field, the indoor turf field, and they have their birthday party there. But that is not a function hall. That's not weddings and bands and music and alcohol and dancing and all that stuff. That's what function hall means, and that's what's implied in that definition. That is an ancillary use and function of the fitness center, of the sports center, as people come there with organized sporting activities, and kids come to play soccer and other sports on the indoor turf field. And then upstairs is the exercise facility, where equipment, you know, weights and things like that are all upstairs. So this is a place, a commercial venture in the town that families come to, that bring their young kids. You know, it's centered around a wellness concept, a fitness concept. Right now, the owners have members of the senior center in town have been invited and have been told, and they come up and utilize the field at no cost or charge to them. It's wonderful. It's in close proximity. They can go into that facility and exercise and walk and use the fields. We've got 8 inches to 12 inches of snow coming tomorrow. Wouldn't it be nice if you're in the habit of walking to be able to go indoors and have that done at no cost? That's the kind of commercial venture this has been in this town. It provides a wholesome, very important function to the town. It's good for the kids, it's good for families. They've been here at every stage of the process, obtaining all of the appropriate approvals as needed, including variances. So the other thing that this center has offered the town is that the fire department has been given this by Bob Callahan and the owners. They use it to stage training in there where they fill it with smoke and they train on how to get through a facility. It's been made available to them. Bob Callahan has talked about having it available to the members of the police department and fire department. It's an appropriate and convenient place for them to go and exercise and get additional training on their own time. It's just a very, very positive commercial venture here in town from any way that you look at it, with owners who have done the right thing from the very beginning. They've come to the town and involved the town at every stage, which is why they're here now with the very simple and straightforward request simply to amend the site plan that already exists on two fronts. That there'll be that exercise equipment upstairs to place that and use it, and that the hours be expanded from 6 a.m. to 10. By the way, the 6 a.m. expansion and the 10 p.m. expansion is because this kind of facility is typically used by people either before they go to work or when they come home from work. It's not something that people necessarily can do during the day because many people are working during normal working hours. There are, of course, people with different schedules who can come in. But for the most part, there's a certain percentage of the clientele who would love to show up at 6 a.m. and do fitness before they head off to work, whether it's simple walking or whatever they decide to do. There are rooms inside the facility that are available for talks, lectures from healthcare providers or from people who want to talk about nutrition or exercise. There are sessions of people that would come there and have training sessions to work as groups, you know, that kind of thing, all centered around the same ideas as the fitness center and all of the activities that it offers. So I think the two requests, these simple amendments to the site plan for the fitness center upstairs and the expansion of hours, is reasonable. It's in keeping completely with all of the approvals that have already been obtained, including the most recent variance from the ZBA, which allows fitness offices, wellness offices without medical procedures to take place at that facility. So we're, of course, obviously asking that that be granted. And if for any reason you members of the board want to include the other two items of function hall, we're not asking, but if you want to address the birthday party things or any of that, we're certainly happy to do that. And as far as medical offices are concerned, there's no request that there be medical offices there. Only the wellness type offices of the therapist, the nutritionist, the massage therapist and the nutritionist there. It's all set up and it's conditioned on the zoning board's granting of the variance anyway. That's already in place. To the extent that needs to be part of this amendment, I'd leave that up to you, but obviously we'd ask for that approval.
All right, is that your presentation?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. I'm a little confused, and I'm wondering if other members of the planning board are as confused as I am in terms of what has taken place and what has not taken place. Do you have the original case, which in everything has been a continuation of the original site plan, I believe?
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, it was, so it was filed recently as a site plan application, not an amendment to a site plan, and, I mean, it probably doesn't amount to a hill of beans whether it's, you know, approached by the board as an amendment to a site plan or a site plan, or a new site plan itself, because they're asking for uses that the board can either approve or disapprove. So the original came in listing add indoor fitness center to the upper level and expand hours of operation 5 a.m. to 10 p.m. Now, Mr. Pyra submitted an email to me following that, following a memo from the code enforcement officer advising him to do a site plan for all four items. The code enforcement officer's interpretation of massage therapist and a nutritionist were that of the 3 office categories in the charter permitted uses, it most closely resembled medical offices. So he instructed the applicant to get a variance for medical offices, at which point the applicant could be where the applicant is now tonight, applying for site plan review for those approved medical offices, for those medical offices that have received a variance, so that they potentially could exist.
Okay. Yeah,
In response, just to clarify, the notice of decision from the zoning board of adjustment.
I have a copy of
Yes,
that.
right.
And I was at that meeting. so-
Yes, and,
Okay.
and they allowing for health and wellness offices is how they
Well, that was,
conditioned it.
that's correct, that's one of, that's something that I will address later.
My
But-
confusion is, this was site plan, the decision was made on April 11th, 2013, to approve to convert a warehouse area to an indoor turf field. Not a wellness center.
That's right. Okay?
An
That's
indoor,
exactly what it
turf
was,
field.
and that's why I said there's a lot of confusion. And those of you, I don't think Bob, you and Eric have any problems with what we're saying, because I think you're aware of that. But that's exactly what we did. We said that they could have an indoor turf field. We were approached again, and the case was continued because there were some issues about exactly what was going on there. We had gotten word that there were functions going on that we weren't aware of. That was explained to us. I believe that one of our ex officio member, Selectman Dawson, went to a function there, and there was an issue of parking, if you will recall. It was actually not a party, it was a meeting of, I believe, health officers.
it was for.
So
health
other things are
officials.
being held there besides birthday parties. And I also had someone say something to me about a party being held there for her, one of her relatives. And so all of these things started coming out. And that's why we had asked, I thought, to have an amendment to the site plan, and I thought that's what we were gonna talk about tonight. We had a lengthy discussion about the hours of operation. We had abutters who came and who interjected information that concerned them. And I thought at that time we were pretty explicit as to what the hours were going to be. I did attend the zoning board meeting, and the term medical offices was not what was approved, or it was going to be changed to a wellness center. It was very specific, no invasive procedures were to be performed, no x-rays. So that's why I'm a little concerned. Now, it was my understanding that the fitness center was going to be a CrossFit type center. And the reason you need to expand your operations is that you wanted adults to be able to come there and do exercises before and after work. And that it was explained to the zoning board that in conjunction with that, there's going to be a massage therapist who will be doing massages. There'll be a nutritionist, all of which works together with a sports center. And I didn't have a problem with that, nor did the zoning board, as long as it did not involve medical offices. But I thought that what we were going to address tonight were the hours of operation, whether it's going to be used as a function hall, and what the specifics of that function hall would be, and to talk about the expanded use for a wellness center. So, you know, is that, am I off base? And
I don't know how we can consider expanding it to a wellness center when the approval of the planning board is only for an indoor turf field. The zoning
Correct.
board of
We have to-
adjustment has says that
that
they
this
can
is,
have.
this is the site plan review that we're supposed to be looking at now.
But the site plan review,
Do you have a filled
I know
out
that
site?
it's August 21st, 2014, is asking for an indoor fitness center to the upper
Upper level.
and expanded hours of operation.
No, I should say, and I'm sorry, I don't have a copy of it, I can produce copies for it, but I guess an amended page to that application would be the email that came in from Mr. Pyro.
Eric.
And that was for
And it's
the,
reflected on the agenda, and it was
Yeah.
reflected in all the notices that went
And
out.
I think we all got a
Butters.
copy of that email. Did anyone missing a copy of it? Okay,
so currently on October 11, 2006, the planning board approved, and I don't know if this is non-conforming, if this was, what use was
What, the
abandoned,
zoning
but in
board?
2006, the planning board approved the media center, and that included an office, which is one office. So now we have offices that are specific to health and wellness. I thought this, when I went before the zoning board, it was gonna be more specific to offices. Because isn't there an embroidery shop in there?
No, just a sales office.
Well,
One
There's no
Sales.
actual, there's no actual
but
machines
there's
in
a
there.
sales office in there for an embroidery person. It's an automatic or health office, or, wait a minute, let's use health or wellness office. Use.
Chairman, if I may, so one thing that the zoning board did say at last week's meeting was when it came up about them possibly adding a condition for the number of offices, multiple members of the board said, let's let the planning board address that.
Right, but I'm being more
Right.
specific to
Okay.
the use now. We were told by the attorney that they had come before us and approved everything there, but that's not the case. So,
and that's why I said I'm a little confused, because that is not what is it, it's not been that way at all. All we did, basically, is say that they could have a turf field originally. We were, continued the case for all of these expanded uses. We said that they would have to go to the zoning board to get some of these things because it's a rural agricultural district. And we have abutters who are very concerned about that. We have abutters who are concerned about the traffic, abutters who are concerned about the hours of operation. So tonight, I thought we were going to have a site plan review proposing all of these issues. The fitness center, we're gonna talk about the expanded hours of operation, which I see as being a problem. Whether it could be utilized as a facility, as a function hall, and to allow the medical office or wellness center, if you will, which already exists there now. It already exists there now, as do, I believe, 4 other offices. There's an insurance agent that has an office there, there's an embroidery shop there, there's a nutritionist, and a massage therapist. So there's 4 offices already occupied there, which there was no approval for. That's why the code enforcement officer, I believe, initially got involved.
May I, when I said everything that the landowner and applicant has been, had the town involved and had the town involved in all of the activities there, all of the documents that I have here and have reviewed would show that from the time in 2006 when it was approved for a media center, office, film and sound production, assembly, manufacturing, warehouse, at that time, it could be 18-wheelers going up and down that street back then, with assembly and manufacturing and everything else going on. They received approval to convert the warehouse into an indoor turf field. Prior to that, they received approval from the zoning board, which they received it to allow an indoor recreational facility. I have that notice of decision right here as well. So when I
What was
said
the year of those?
on January 28, 2013, the ZBA granted approval to allow an indoor recreational facility. So what I'm saying is that at some appropriate point, after the applicant has received all of the appropriate variances that are required, then the applicant is in the position to come to the planning board. Because otherwise, if the applicant comes to the planning board first, it's likely the planning board's gonna say, you're trying to do uses that aren't permitted, you're gonna need variances, go get your variances, then we'll look at your site plan and decide whether it's going to be
That's
approved.
basically what happened.
Exactly. So,
Yes, but,
And a decision of 2006 is not appropriate for 2014.
I agree.
Because that business was abandoned. So once the business is abandoned, it becomes another issue. And Dara, did you have a comment?
No, I maybe raised my hand in haste because I agree with what the attorney said. There's a difference between the variances and the site plan approvals. So where indeed the variance was for the broader topic of recreation center, all that's been site planned so far is the indoor turf field.
Exactly.
and that's why we're
Well,
here.
so we
And that's
don't
why we're
have
here.
a wellness center, and even with this application, there's no,
We don't have any
that nobody's asking
specific.
for a wellness center. It's very specific, it's hours of operation, and a fit, and a exercise place. But there's no wellness center that's been site planned.
No,
At all.
because the ZBA hasn't given approval, granted a variance for wellness center. Everything has been very specific. In other words, all of the things that have currently been obtained by way of variances from the zoning board of adjustment are part of this site review application tonight, okay, which are specifically, most recently, the ZBA said you can have wellness health offices, okay? So that's why we're saying, we want you to look at the site plan review with the idea of wellness health offices, exactly what the ZBA has permitted, okay? The other thing the ZBA has permitted is a recreational facility. We're asking that you look at the site plan tonight with regard to recreational facility, specifically.
We-
That hasn't been
No,
requested.
no, it's already, this is with regard to putting equipment on the second floor in addition to the turf field, which has been approved on a site plan already. The only difference of the site plan that you're being asked to approve now are the two things that the ZBA has first provided a variance for, setting opening it up to now come before you. And that is the recreational facility. You guys already have the turf field in place. What you don't have in place is the second floor gym equipment, okay? The ZBA has now permitted it. We're asking you to look at it and approve it. And the other part of that is the expansion of hours, okay? Which doesn't require ZBA approval, but is purely a site plan review for the planning board to determine.
My problem is,
Yes,
we're doing this piecemeal. So the ZBA grants them recreational facilities, and they come in and ask just for a turf field. I guess it's already been determined the media center is a non-conforming use, that's abandoned, so there's no offices, no assembly, nothing. Without site plan approval, offices appear for other than anything that has to do with a turf field. And they may have a variance for recreational facility, but it hasn't been site plan. So here we are. Everybody's referring it to a wellness center, but that's not what site plan, that's not what it is, it's an indoor turf field.
And that's what
And
we
we
expected we would have tonight.
Right, we were hoping that we were now gonna look at it in a broader field, but we're not. We're still piecemealing. And now we have two offices in the facility that have nothing to do with health and wellness that are operating illegally.
well, first of
So,
all, the reason the site plan review is here now is because, and I agree, it looks piecemeal as probably,
It is
it's probably an
piecemeal.
accurate
And this is no-
description of,
We don't have anything to review.
well, we can review the hours.
Well, yeah, but I
And the
mean,
exercise.
we don't have anything about the parking, how these are gonna impact the parking. I just have some real issues with it. I don't, how does everybody else on the board feel?
Well, I mean, I don't think being piecemeal is illegal.
No, it's not.
No,
Absolutely.
I think
It's just
within
unfortunate.
It's,
we're
yes.
just gonna have to
Business
continue
are-
continuing
it
it.
is. I don't think it's a travesty. I think we should just look at the application as it stands now and talk about it, look at what we have.
Piecemeal.
I don't know, let's just look at what we have for the,
Chairman? Maybe it would be helpful, I mean, if I could just ask some questions, or maybe the applicant should be asked, do they want to have functions there? And if not, I mean, is that actually the request to have that stricken from the site plan review application?
In the sense, the answer is no, they don't want to have functions in the sense of what I described in my presentation as functions. And that's why I thought it was important to talk to you about the idea that your agenda said function hall, a function facility. No, in the definition of that term, of weddings and events and live music and bands and people and all that, absolutely not. They're not seeking to have this approved for a function facility. There are ancillary to the recreational facility use. They do have birthday parties of kids when they come there.
Understood, we
And-
understand
right.
that.
And I've described that as being ancillary to every sports center I've seen operate in the greater New Hampshire area. If you're familiar with these places, that's an activity that goes part and parcel with these types of indoor recreational facilities. Indoor soccer, it's notorious for kids having gatherings and birthday parties there. That's all they do. They're not looking to be a function facility. So in answer to the question, I would say that particular item should be removed from any amendment, any request for amendment to the application.
But they haven't been site planned for an indoor recreational facility. They only have a variance. They've only been approved for an indoor turf field.
Which is not
Indoor-
changing. The only,
Right, so why are we even looking at what you're describing as ancillary to something that hasn't been site planned?
it's ancillary to the,
To the variance,
no,
but there's been no site plan for it.
Well,
We
let me-
only have indoor turf field, and we can keep talking about this and talking about this. Unfortunately, we have a gentleman who's trying to run a business up there successfully, and that's my frustration. You know, he should be able to get on with what he can get on with and not this piecemeal stuff. I'm just really, you know, he has 2 offices that are being used that are non-compliant and should be. Should be. Because that office use, in just my opinion, is during the hours of business that he's already allowed to have. But they're non-compliant because they haven't been site planned. And I think it's upsetting to me, because we're supposed to support businesses. And unfortunately, the way this is coming forward, we don't look to be, and we should be. So I suggest we get on to looking at expanding the hours and getting the, looking at the exercise facility that they want to have in addition to the indoor turf field.
Right, and I think we had full explanation of what the indoor business center was, and I don't think any of us had a problem with that. Okay? And I think that we didn't have a problem with birthday parties, serving pizza.
But it's not, how is that part of an indoor turf field, unfortunately? There's nothing that allows,
It's an ancillary to the
it's
so
not,
function
somebody
of
going
the
up there and
kids.
having soccer?
but they already have food being sold. I mean, it's not.
They already have a little
They already
kitchenette
have
and they're
an
using
embroidery
it.
office there, an insurance office that is
I
non-compliant,
would
should we
like to know-
continue to allow
I
that?
would like to know more about the embroidery, that's.
It was my understanding from your initial
There's some confusion
presentation
here.
that the embroidery office and the insurance office was a telephone operation only.
Absolutely.
If somebody had to have an address,
That's
am
right.
I wrong in
That's
that?
absolutely correct.
There's no
So it's-
traffic in and out of
There's
those
no traffic,
offices.
there's no customers.
It's
coming,
like
nothing.
having a post office box at the post office, except this is an office at an address.
That's
So
right.
it's, there's not clothing involved.
There's no
and
clothing there, there's
nothing.
no
Machinery.
employees, there's no machinery, there's no thread, there's
So-
nothing.
It's,
Right.
It's
it's
just
really
a
just a remote
Yes,
location.
yes.
It just
Yeah.
allowed.
But it's You
Part
can do
of
that
what the-
online, you know, it's.
It doesn't matter, it's not part of an indoor turf field, and I'm not trying to be the bad guy here, it's just, that's our zoning. It's not allowed in the agricultural district. The only thing we've been approved for is an indoor turf field. I wish they'd come in for the recreational facility, but that's all they've been approved for.
I mean, so where does it say that you can't have an off, is it specifically,
In the chart permitted uses in the agricultural area, you cannot have
You
offices.
cannot have one.
And the zoning board is only approving for health and wellness offices. It should just say offices. In my opinion, but can't do anything about it now.
Kind of stuck in
Okay, didn't they mention that at the board, more of a broader thing, and that's where I got I'm entirely.
They,
Well, instead of coming back piecemealing it,
well, they didn't want you coming back to them
We don't want
piecemeal, and you didn't want to either, and that was, but unfortunately, what they did was make it specific in saying wellness offices, allowing for health and wellness offices. That was the variance that they approved.
But I think we can let the code enforcement officer work with them to get the
Yeah,
other two.
I don't have a, I don't have a problem with
Okay.
that, and I don't think that Al had a problem. What we had a problem with was that, no, we knew nothing about any of that. We just happened to drive up the road to see a sign, and that's how we found out, okay? So, you know, that's, I think that that's something that code enforcement can. And in terms, I think we need to change the medical offices, because that wasn't what you really requested. Because I went to that zoning board too. You requested to be allowed a wellness center, and that was explained in detail as to what that involved. That it didn't involve many people, a one-on-one, somebody coming in one-on-one, at the most two people, one getting massage and one waiting for the massage. So I don't see that as an issue at all. Does anybody else see that as an issue?
Well, it's not a wellness center. The zoning board's decision is only for medical offices.
No, the zoning board
As for
allows,
And
I
wellness
had,
office,
allows for, this is what it allows for.
health and wellness
Health and
offices.
wellness offices, subject to the following conditions. No invasive medical procedure shall be conducted, and neither hazardous materials, biohazards, or X-ray technology shall be permitted on the site. And they used health and wellness offices. Okay, so that's what they allowed, and that's why I'm saying to change this to allow for health and wellness
You
offices.
can't change that. You can't change that application. The abutters have all been notified.
The only thing is though, it's lessening it. It's almost conditioning medical offices, so it's the abutters.
Allowing,
So now you're gonna
We're notified
the
of
abutters?
that and potentially more. They were notified of health and wellness
But we're
and
only
brain
being
surgery.
asked tonight to discuss the office hours and the exercise facility.
Yeah, but I'm saying if on the fly at this meeting, 4 were to be amended, I mean, I think it might be easier procedurally to just say medical offices as conditioned by the zoning board.
yeah.
Yeah, I think they need to come in
But
the
I
site
think-
plan with much more general terms. But for tonight, we need to look at the recreational facility and the office hours without altering a site plan, I mean, an application.
Well, allow
And I
medical
think
offices.
within their variance from the zoning board that allowed them to have a wellness area back in March 2013, that exercise facility would be part of that.
Right. But if the planning board were to say, okay, only going to contemplate the first and second, the third's been, the applicant's representative has voluntarily thrown out the third item, but if the planning board were to ignore the fourth item, then that still hangs in the balance. That's an unresolved matter. They want to have those offices, and it wouldn't have received site plan approval.
Yes, but where is
So
the,
we can approve.
how can we site plan it when we don't have where the office is going to be?
Well,
Where's
right.
the,
I think.
Where's the
So again,
information?
the zoning board sort of, almost handed the baton right where you're handed off the baton right where you're picking it up. And potentially, tonight's meeting could generate a list of necessary bits of information.
Well, just hand them the site plan, list of what you
Absolutely,
need for a site
absolutely.
plan
There's,
review.
you know, the check boxes are, you can see the check boxes were not ignored. They were either marked yes or non-applicable. So they were certainly aware of the site plan review requirements.
May I be heard on that, on what was submitted? I think what Steve Nix did was, went with the original site plan that was submitted already to the planning board that would have a plaque and would, you know, show the facility and demonstrate how it looks and all that stuff. An engineered plan or a survey. So he's referencing that and working off of that. And after the variances have been obtained, he's coming in and saying, look at the original one that was filed with you folks, and the only things that we're asking to approve the site plan that you already have is with regard to the upstairs facilities and with regard to the operation of hours, because the turf field is there and always has been, and the other activities are ancillary to that. So really, Steve Nix's plan for tonight, when he filed this application, was use the original application that's already been approved, amending it to look at the recreational facilities upstairs along with the expansion of the hours.
So how
now-
much additional parking will there be because of these offices, and how many of these offices will there be?
Well, the offices that are there now, as you've identified, I think, and then what they have to do is talk about those uses. The ZBA has permitted wellness and health uses. They're gonna have to address the other uses, but they're being used as phone rooms really particularly. So that's an issue.
Then we need some.
I understand that.
We need some
but-
site
but-
plans here, we need some maps, we need some stuff.
There's one of the offices,
So, I
I
mean,
believe.
the application has,
Should be on file.
I mean, anyone who needs one, that, we've got some copies here, it has,
Right.
No,
I think
It's this you're talking, yeah, but you're talking about this for the
No, that was for the,
Both.
that's for the
Okay.
last page is for the offices, I was
I'm just flipping through the
Right.
pages.
No, no,
Yeah.
right.
So this is what you want us to use? Does everybody need a copy?
Catherine, that's the fitness center. The next page is the office.
That's going.
And no, that's not.
Army
That's just
crawl?
not-
What kind of medical office is
Yeah,
that?
yeah. Unfortunately, maybe the print's not that good, but it's the smaller part at the bottom, you'll see, probably there's 10 offices on that right there. And of the 3 people there, we
On
pick up
this one?
5. Yeah, unfortunately, it's not the greatest. Yeah, I don't know, maybe got bad print on this end, I don't know.
Do we have anything better than this?
Eric just pulled something out.
I would just kind of just copy that.
Does everybody's look like mine?
Yes, everybody's looks like yours.
So I'll just show you real quick. That office, 1, 2, 3, 4, and that little one are taking up 3 people. That's it. And the guy with the insurance guy is in that, he's up there once a week for an hour. And that's it.
I'm inviting Eric up to show us where they're located now.
Yeah, it's just,
What
the
numbers
little,
are
the
what?
little number, the little things are here are just where, these little stray marks are just fire extinguishers. Yeah, those are just fire extinguishers and stuff like that. Office number 101 is where Bob and I share that office. 102, 103, 104. That's the.
With the air snow? The air snow?
And then 111 is the nutrition.
And where,
The insurance guy. That's what signage. Bob and I.
Is there
Yeah,
one
yeah.
sign?
got a desk.
I don't
I have a
think
desk
they
in
have
the
back.
Those folks back there. All right.
There's the massage therapist has three.
That's it.
That's it.
Yeah. Yeah, but the massage
I
has three offices,
own
like three.
the it all looks old.
There's not like
No,
10
no,
companies.
no.
Only signs.
All right, that, now does that explain it, so that you know, you don't have all, you don't
On Route
have
3 and 11 towards Estonia, you take a left on
huge
Green
number
Road,
of
where the
offices to
chiropractor
fill,
is,
so
right?
does
Go a
that,
little Range Road, you're gonna come to the stop sign, take a left, that's Lancaster Hill Road. Take your first
and you have no plans to use those offices?
I can tell
It's
you
about
number
before I get Sam.
number 108.
This is a commercial.
That's where I keep my shovels for the winter. I mean,
So it's used as storage?
yeah, I mean, basically
They build
108,
houses up there.
109 are used
They
as
build
storage
houses up there.
by me
It's all
for
residential.
different things.
And you're right,
Like
agricultural.
I keep a,
Excuse me, can we have one,
When I lived on,
I keep a,
sir?
I keep an air compressor at 109, because when I have to inflate a lot of soccer balls at the same time, it's kind of loud, so.
Okay, all right.
But 110 and 107 are not currently used, and 105 and 106 are not used.
Okay, now that makes it a little clearer, right? All right, so let's talk about expanding the hours of operation.
Can we finish with the offices?
Oh, yeah, we can.
How many more customers do these offices generate?
The nutritionist, she generally is herself, and if she has a client on site, that would be it. She about
But during
75,
an average workday, how many clients does she have?
she's not even there half the time.
But
So
they're,
going to Skype people and
they're
just
one
take
at a
your-
time. The massage therapist, as I said earlier, has one person she's doing a massage on, and at most, there's one waiting to come in.
Okay, but how many is that during a day?
She maybe does 2 or 3 on site.
Okay.
I'll call it 10 a week because she's not there.
Okay.
She does a
She's
lot
not
of,
there every day.
she's not there every
Okay.
day.
Because I'm looking at parking.
She generally is her
Yeah, but
car.
if they're one at a time, that's why I said that's what would
Oh,
be
one in,
appropriate.
one out.
One in, one out, one waiting, so we're talking maybe 2, 3 spaces at the most.
She relocated from,
And she said she does a lot of at home,
She
she
travels to home.
travels and goes to people's homes.
The insurance guys are only there one day a week, 1 hour.
What would you say is your most trafficy office as far as the traffic?
the massage.
Massage at 10, 2 or the 3 of
10 cars a
most
week,
day.
10
cars a week.
meetings a week there.
Okay, so parking is,
So it's minimal parking.
And it's during the working day, it's not a night time. So there's no impact. This parking lot's 90% of the time, that parking lot.
95.
Yeah.
type thing.
And you've added a third handicap parking.
Yeah. They weren't able, they'll probably go down in the spring. It's just the weather's coming out, trying to get that contractor up there to spray it right. With the right colors and all.
Do you have the appropriate number of van parking spaces?
Yeah, I think there's two, and there's one, so we get the width of the other sides. Yeah.
The current spaces that we have actually exceed.
Are they van as well?
Yeah, well, each space is about, that we have right now. We have 2 right now. We have to add the third, but it's gonna be 37 feet. And that's the 8, the middle 8 would be the van space, and then there's a 5-foot lane that will be there. To do the proper,
Wheelchair.
to do the proper,
I think a van was at least 9. I don't remember. I just
no,
looked
it's
it
all
up.
8 feet.
I just looked it up the other day. We had to add one on the municipal parking lot.
It's 8 foot. There's 3 8-foot spaces. The middle space would be striped for van access. And then then to the, if you're looking at Rachel, this one, the stripes, then this one, there's a 5-foot lane, and then there's another space. I don't know if that's for van or not. We would actually gain a parking space.
Well, I think we have parking for the amount of traffic for the offices over there.
As long as they don't have gatherings.
Yeah, and I don't think there's plans for that. I was told we were on the board. Does everybody agree that adding the indoor fitness center is just a continuation actually of the turf field?
I think it's allowable for us
Yeah.
to look at it because the zoning board granted him a variance for 8
Yeah.
lots. But I don't think it's part of the indoor turf field, it's part of this
Well, it's a
amendment.
sports center amendment.
It's part of this amended site plan review.
All right, the extended hours of operation.
They're up to 6, which is good.
Well,
I think we have a problem with the 10 o'clock.
I have a problem with the 5 AM as being a safety issue because of children waiting for school buses, people walking their dogs. I think not at 5 o'clock, but like when you start talking 5, you've got people on the road at 6, 6:30, and people are out walking dogs. And I can't address Lancaster Hill. I know you live in that area, how much foot traffic there is. I do know that in the afternoon, there's a lot of traffic with parents waiting for their kids on the side streets that come off of Lancaster Hill. And that, I guess that's my safety concern in the morning, that there might be people, if we're talking 5 AM. And I have a problem with 10 PM because I thought that we had talked initially, when the indoor turf field came up, that you had people who lived in the area who were here at that meeting, who had real issues, and I thought we said at the very latest, it would not go beyond 9 PM.
Yeah, that's fine. You don't have a problem with that.
You don't have a problem
Not
changing
9
it?
o'clock.
Okay, on the closing end, you don't have a problem changing it till 9?
Finish at 9, that's fine.
Sunday is 8 to 7.
Yeah.
To 7 on Sunday.
And that's no problem?
No problem. If we could have it start at 6 AM, from the 5 to the 6, that'd be great.
Okay.
I don't think you're gonna see.
I don't have a problem in the summertime, but in the wintertime,
Yeah,
I
no
do
thanks.
have some concerns. And as I say, I don't know what the traffic is there. All right, anybody else on the board
It
have
was
comments?
Saturday and Sunday are the hours.
Sunday, 9 to 7.
The current hours are 8 AM to 9 PM, and Sunday is 8 AM to 7. Because that's what my
And that's what you said
That's what my notes say.
Right.
That's what the notes say, we're asking for 6 AM to 9.
On Sunday too.
No, because we only live at
Well, that's
7.
what, no, I know that, but we're talking about Sunday. What hours of operation are you asking for on Sunday?
8 p.m. Yeah.
8 to 8?
Yeah.
So you want the 6 AM start time? Because, I mean, as far as being a parent on, near that area, I would actually rather see a 5 AM start time because then it wouldn't have, if it's starting at 6, 6 is the worst time. But if you start at 5, you have some cars already traveled down that road, gotten to the destination, and I'm sure this, I've been down that road, I don't know what they're, I know there's not a flood of dogs on it.
Actually, part of our scheduling process, if we were allowed to open at 6 AM, our first class technically probably wouldn't be until 6:15, which would be a 45-minute class. And the bus comes through there at about 7 o'clock on auto drive.
Which bus? There's 2 buses.
The middle high school, and then the,
Elementary school comes later.
right, I think it's like an hour.
I think it comes about 8, something like
Well,
that.
I can tell you
No,
so.
look before that,
It's 8
because it
o'clock.
gets to my house.
Well, I'm thinking
Well,
when
the
it
same
goes
thing,
to my house, and
the
that's,
next class would be
The one that goes to
7:15.
Lancaster Hill Road is 5 and 6,
It's 7.
and it gets to my house at 8,
The,
so it's down there probably at,
the bus schedule is, in the afternoon, for the elementary. It would be coming by our road, at 7:55, it's at 342 Lancaster Hill Road, which is pretty close to the intersection. Then 8 o'clock, it's at Auden and Perkins, which is the top, which is beyond our center. So again, the schedule would be 7:15 to 8 o'clock for a class, a 45-minute type class.
all right, so let's, okay, so Monday through Saturday, 6 AM to 10 PM. I mean 9 PM. And Sunday, 8 AM to 8 PM.
Yep.
Okay?
here we have the letters, we have 2 letters from residents down there, commenting on the
Yeah,
standing road.
yeah, and, one letter,
No, I'm gonna open it.
Yeah, isn't that-
Letters
we,
here.
A
yeah,
letter, number 2, 1 in an email.
It was just one letter, and we all got a copy of that letter.
oh, I emailed it to you and I handed you a
Yeah, I
copy,
think
that's
that's
why,
one.
So that's the letter you sent us,
yeah,
and I think he's here,
that's true, yeah.
and he's here present tonight. So
Okay, good.
if we're doing the planning board, I'm gonna open it to public. Okay. Any input? And we got your letter.
Thank you. As the author of the letter, my name is Tom Mead. I have property on the corner of Philbrook and Autumn. It's been in the family for about 90 years, and we're currently building a home there. A couple of observations. I've been aware of the unfolding uses of that property for the last 60 years when I was around before the warehouse went up. So the warehouse arrived. And I think, as I stated in the last meeting I attended and that letter, that when, as an abutter, we were notified of the use of that warehouse to be changed from the media center to the indoor soccer field, I had no issues with that, because what that conjured for me was kids and families, and the kids aspect of this has been stressed this evening. So I was a little struck by the new application, which is expanding that from kids' daytime, good use of that facility for the community, to a more commercial activity. And my fear is that simply by historical happenstance, the warehouse existed, therefore it may be amenable to commercial uses, but nonetheless it exists in a rurally zoned area. So my fear is that given its historical existence, it can sort of morph in the future more and more into this little commercial island in a rural zone. I realize that the applicant's proposals for it at the moment are restricted to the recreational facility. Even that strikes me as somewhat beyond the spirit of the turf field, in that it's a different kind of clientele. And my concern for the board, or what I would like to express, is that every time a change unfolds, it seems to open the door to the next change. In other words, it's a one-way valve. And every change is going to expand the use of that facility as a commercial facility. I'm happy that the request for the hours has been shrunken back. I think that's extremely important. But I just want to, in a sense, put a marker down as an abutter to that property, that it sits there as a potential issue going forward. I guess a final comment would be when the discussion was about whether the office spaces require more parking, the discussion was specifically how are they being used at this moment. Well, how they're being used at this moment is not necessarily how they will be used 2 years from now, given how they've now been, the variance that has now been accepted. So it's not, I would just say that that's kind of something that might be a warning. Is that the current use, just as the current use as a turf field was just fine. But then that use is used as a basis for the next step. So, those are my comments.
If I can add comments to that, we appreciated your letter, we appreciated your coming in the last time. I think you gave us a real sense about the rural agricultural area, and I left the meeting that night. My greatest fear was that being turned into, and I think I said that to you, an industrial park, which is the last thing that I think anyone in that area, or anyone on this board, or anyone in the town of Tilton wants to see it turned into. And I also think, and I believe I can say this, and I can say it in all honesty, I believe that I would be supported in this, that is not Bob Callahan's intention. It has never been Bob Callahan's intention. His intention, and one of the reasons that the massage therapist and the nutritionist wanted to join forces and have this wellness center there, was because his commitment is to sports, to young people, and to young adults, and to even old people like me, to better their physical well-being. And as I say, I think I can in all honesty say that that is his intention. It's not to establish an industrial park. And I think any change that will be made in the future, and I hope I'm not wrong, will be in the area of sports. And it's not going to expand, he's not going to add building space, he's not going to, try to buy property next to him to expand. I think he's going to stay in the limits. So I respect, though, your comments, and they were taken to heart. Are there any other comments from the audience?
Yeah, I'm John Grislack, and I'm actually a resident of Sammington, but I abut that property on the north side, Perkins Road. And I agree with Mr. Mead. I've been here 31 years. And that building, like he said, and it's a good term to use, has morphed from one thing to the other to the other. Doesn't seem to be a stopping to it. We just seem to be replacing one thing with another, and it's become more commercial. in the same regard to what we're talking about with this gentleman about the parking, you may have 2 offices in there now which have very little traffic. You go on the internet right now tonight, you look at that website for the Tilton Sports Center, all that stuff on your diagram is all up there for rent. I don't know who allowed them to do that. And you had mentioned that in your conversation earlier, that you got people in there renting property, that there was no variances of, there's nothing that I know that was ever approved for them to do that. So if 2 officers take up X number of parking spots, which they can handle now, if you look at that diagram and that floor plan, there are teams of, in the teens of floor space that can be rented off. If that happens, now what happens to your parking situation?
I only see one, how many office spaces are you're using as storage?
Just empty or-
I had the same question, remember when I had the same question when I went on the website? It looks like there's offices on the 4th floor.
Well, there's a second floor which has office space, but
Yeah.
we've actually buttoned that down for the winter.
But
There's no, no one knocking our door down, and no one
No,
contacting.
the point is.
that's the point, is that it's available tonight. I think we can add a condition that it will not be.
Well, it has to be site plan, just like the insurance and burger should be.
All right.
Just like a zoning variance.
Another speaker? Yes.
My name is Roland Fleischbecker. My dad built that building when I was little. And at the time, it was an industrial park, and there's a lot of trucks going in and out every day. And in the time, I've been gone for a long time, and I come back and I met Bob, so he did the building. I'm impressed with what Bob did, and my question is, not knowing much about these kinds of proceedings, is, it was a factory, it was an office building, so if it can't be an office building now, what's it supposed to be? That's my one question. I grew up, it was an office building. I understand the concerns of the neighbors about the traffic and all that sort of stuff. That was my concern as well when Bob told me he wanted to build a sports center. I'm in the media business, so I was all up for the media center, but when he said sports center, that was my concern. And how do I put this? I grew up in this town, went away for a long time, so I had a certain picture in my head, certain memories. And when I started coming back 4 or 5 years ago, what knocked me pretty hard was the drug abuse amongst the kids. And it knocked me pretty hard. And so when I went in recently and saw what they were actually doing in there, and I saw kids having fun, like we used to when we were kids, I thought, a little bit of traffic, a little bit of light, where do we become neighborly and start looking at community things and start looking at the bigger picture? And I agree with the, I'm not sure what your name is.
Jane Alden.
Jane Alden. I do believe that Bob's intention is just to do something cool and fun and health-oriented. I've only been back a few weeks now, and I have been watching what's been going on. And I've gone in a few times, and there's a great energy in there. It's not, there's nothing shabby about it at all. Especially when you compare it to when it was an industrial park, when I grew up. I mean, there was, every day we'd go out and there'd be semi-trailers going in and out. It was kind of fun. So, anyway, that's my question. What's Bob going to do with the office part of the building, which is an office building, if you can't have offices in it? Anyway, that's it.
I mean, I would just offer that the planning board's the wrong board, you know, they're not the economic development board, and it's really not their job to make sure that every lot generates, you know, you know, I mean, as much as, of course, that they would love to see that. You know, it's simply a matter of enforcing the zoning, but I think you do speak to a unique challenge on a unique site, which is why probably there's so many people.
I can't wait to tell my bad dad how much trouble this building's caused.
Blame it on Bob, everybody.
Big shoulders.
Okay, any other?
I just have I guess a free comment for the fact that this community's done an excellent job to support, you know, children, sports events. Just most recently, we have I guess what I look at as a non-taxpayer, large facility that's gone in that has made a huge impact on a neighborhood that I live in up here at the top of the hill. And we have someone that's before us tonight that pays about $16,000 in taxes per year. That's going to bring a lot of good and well-being to the entire community and beyond. Then I think supporting him in any fashion that we could possibly, with making, you know, with respecting the neighbors and the type of impact that he will make. You know, it seems like it's a low risk, low frequency type of business. What I mean by that is 1 or 2 cars and not semis that have been up through there. It seems like it's a low impact, that if we could support his business in any way possible, with whether it's to workshop some of these questions and to make sure that the business succeeds in respecting the neighborhood, it seems like it would be the right community thing to do. So,
Thank you.
Hi, Scott Parsons, I live across the street, and I agree with everybody here. We want Bob to make it over there. But we all did agree that in the residential area, that 9 o'clock was the limit. And I'm really glad to see that they've changed their mind on that. That's mainly why I'm here. I feel that whatever he does within those walls, and we don't exceed the traffic studies and the parking studies, that you know, he'd be granted to do what he needs to do within those walls of those buildings.
And I might add that I think was a big concession on your part.
I think so too, and that's what we
And
wanted
and that's-
two years ago,
that's-
a year ago, and you know, that's what the initial indoor facility was all based on. Let's approve this because all he wanted was 9 o'clock.
Exactly.
So I'm happy to see that that's done.
Scott Ruggles, I'm a 14-year resident of Tilton, and just from a parent's perspective, I have 4 children who participate in programs up there, and it's a lot easier than driving a boat. So, but I also think that when you look at fitness facilities, which I've known for many, many years, that you're looking at a pretty positive clientele that's going in. You know, that is going to be aware of their surroundings and the neighbors who are there. And you know, this is a great facility for the youth, and I think that in terms of that new facility that they're looking at, you're going to have a very positive clientele who's using it as well.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right, I'm gonna close it for public. All
Could
right.
you read off the final decision on the hours that they're requesting?
Yeah. Well, can we start just with all of these and then?
Well, we're still dealing with the hours, right? This conversation was about hours?
Expanded hours of operation, Monday through Saturday, 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. Sunday, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. And we appreciate your making that concession. And I think that shows the good faith effort on your part, Bob, so thanks for that. All right. under number 4. And I think Dari made a good suggestion to say, allow medical offices as conditioned by the zoning board. Okay?
And we should list those conditions here as well, so we
Yeah.
don't have to go back and refer to the variance.
And those conditions are: no invasive medical procedures shall be conducted. Number 2, neither hazardous materials, biohazards, nor X-ray technology shall be permitted on the site. Okay.
Now, we've had, Mr. Mead and Mr. Zlonek both mentioned, there's been discussion of kind of current level of activity there. The zoning board didn't put any conditions on number of individual entities operating, how many of these rooms. I mean, Eric mentioned that one of the rooms he uses is designated exclusively for inflating soccer balls. I don't know if the, can't imagine the planning board wants to put a condition that Office 109 must remain in use for soccer balls, but, just to throw that out, the conditions of the zoning board might not address everything that's been brought up.
No, and I think we need a condition on there as to no additional expansion.
Do we wanna do that? And we could possibly, as one of the neighbors suggested, those are our office spaces, and if they were filled by the similar type of office space that's there now, where you have like very low impact businesses, do we really wanna limit that? Or should we maybe visit it in a year?
Well, there can be no more expansion on the site without a site plan review, amended site plan review, because it is being done piecemeal. Until they come in and do a indoor recreational facility amended site plan review, so we look at all the things that may pertain to that, we're gonna be doing a piecemeal. And until they get a variance from the zoning board that says offices, then the only thing they can have in there is what they just granted them with the house alone.
But they didn't put a limit on the number.
They didn't put a limit on the number, they just put a limit on the type.
So I would
Which
suggest
still makes
that
it
it's,
two existing non-conforming.
it's within your grasp right now to put a number on it if you want to.
Well, they've site planned for 2 right now. A
Uh,
massage therapist.
Wait, where?
A massage therapist and a nutritionist.
Where?
I don't care what
Where's
space
that,
they
where's
use.
that in their application, though? I don't,
This conversation, when we asked them what is going in there,
Okay.
they said massage and nutritionist. It doesn't matter how many spaces they're using for their services.
I'm guessing
Those are
that,
2 entities.
okay, I don't think that's clear amongst everyone here, so.
May I address this? I think that the diagram that's submitted for the application that depicts individual offices is what the limitation should be, and then the use of that is regulated by zoning, and in this case by the variance granted by the ZBA, so that if other health and wellness professionals came and occupied those spaces, they'd be permitted to do that under the current situation if you approve this site plan, which contains that diagram with those number of offices.
Room 101 to room 112.
But it was told to us that these office spaces would be, some of these were, one was storage, one was being, they
Correct.
were using
Yeah.
themselves.
Correct.
Now you're saying
Now.
open them up.
No,
But the
now,
parking is an issue.
Not necessarily.
If we don't know what's going in there, parking is an issue. Right now,
It's a potential
we
issue.
talked quite extensively about a massage person and a nutritionist and the number of visits that would entail. And we determined that that probably wouldn't have an impact on the parking, so we didn't really need to address it, except you do need to have more handicap. And you have to make sure you have van accessible, and I forgot what that ratio is. But look at, I caution you to look at
Six
what
vacant offices, right?
the wellness center on the corner of Range Road had generated for parking. They went well beyond their capability. And created a huge problem.
Well, they are chiropractors.
That is part of
No.
health.
Chiropractors
Wellness?
use x-ray technology, and that's not permitted
Some
per
of
the
them,
zoning board.
but they could have x-rays done off-site and still have a chiropractor there. There's some chiropractors do.
Well, I think, how many, are there 6 offices
Currently,
vacant, right? So there's potentially 6 more office spaces, which will have to be site plan reviewed, okay, unless they are under this auspices of the wellness center. Okay, if it's anything else, it would have to be come back for us.
Just made a decision on
No, I asked no question. I just asked a question.
No, just clarify.
your own. You told them that they would have to come back.
Oh, well, I thought,
Question.
And we were still
So,
discussing whether or not they would or not.
I mean, yeah, like, is 6 the number? Like, I think that's kind of what I'm trying to say. Can we get a number of offices? Like, how many do you want? Do you want 12? Do you want the soccer ball room to remain a soccer ball room? I mean, you know, if it's gonna, if not, let's not talk about it as a soccer ball room. Let's talk about it as a potential office that you want approval tonight to use.
It could make more sense that way.
Yeah, keep coming back.
Yeah.
You'd be surprised if you went up there to see how small the rooms are. We didn't alter anything in there.
So if they're unusable, then are you prepared tonight to say, these rooms are not gonna be offices, and these are, and this is what we're asking for approval to use as offices? And if we decide to use these small rooms, if we wanna do something with them, that's gonna be outside of tonight's approval. I mean, there needs to be some, like, line on what tonight's approval means in terms of offices.
If we're dealing with parking, we don't have any square footage or dimensions to look at our parking ordinance, 3.5, our parking regulations, and determine how much parking is necessary for these office spaces. That's what I mean, this is really incomplete, so we're kind of.
But if they were prepared to say it's only the 2 that are in there that we want approval for, then I think, you know, the planning board could draw the sort of, yeah, there's enough parking. But if it's all 12 rooms,
So when they come back and ask for more, they could give us square footage, and so we could have a really good idea and be able to sit here and say, yes, go ahead and rent out all of these office spaces for health and wellness use, because we have square footage and can then determine how much parking is necessary. Not that I'm giving any advice.
no, it would be one way of, yeah, I mean.
Because other than, I mean, that's why I was asking how many clients, even though our parking regulation breaks it down to, you know, square footage and, you know, it's square footage really.
I thought
Unless you're a
originally when you
restaurant.
came in, you did have drawings of the parking with the square footage.
yeah, I thought it was.
I thought that was included in the original package.
Yeah, but the original.
There's this here,
Yeah, there's parking in the square footage.
but, yeah, I think,
This is one page, you know, one space for 300 square feet of floor space.
It depends on what category.
No,
In the
the only
office-
one that this falls into.
Well, I don't
No,
have that in front of me,
tell
but
me
they're,
what the square footage is, or what do you need per parking.
So if you look at professional office,
Yeah.
which is probably what this is, it's one space for 200 square feet of floor space.
All right.
So when you come back, then we
I agree
can
with
sit
you. I
here,
want to get the general office space situated, just like you said. I think that's absolutely correct, so.
you come back, let us know, and then we can sit here and say, okay, you've got enough parking for this, and this, and this. But if you want this and this, you're gonna have to expand your parking.
so, with regard to that issue then, if it would make it clearer for the board then the approval could be for the office space that's currently in use as depicted. As to any use of those other office spaces, the applicant will have to come back and seek additional approval based on additional information.
Right. We can only approve the massage.
That's right.
Yeah, we
That's
can.
what I mean, and that's fine, and that's what I mean to say.
That's
Those-
4 offices.
I mean, I adopt that limitation. No. And then if they need to, they can come back and provide additional information with regard to their parking issue.
Can I ask a question? The letter from the code enforcement officer in September, if the offices were out of compliance in his mind, he only recommended that he only said that we had to come before the medical offices because those were out of use, which is why we're here. That's why we went to the ZBA, which is why we're here now.
I can't speak to the code enforcement officer.
I think there was the variance, I think 97, allowed for some office use in it. Even though I think the code enforcement officer could have maybe said, you know what, this was specifically to be ancillary or accessory to the film studio. I think he did. I agree with his decision. He decided, well, these are offices, they're professional offices, it's not a whole nother category in the charter permitted uses, so he did decide not to require further approval for those those offices that he viewed as professional offices.
But on October 10th of 2006, an office, singular, was what was.
Yeah, I think that
Not offices.
reality is, I think he picked
You made a
those
mistake.
things. What's that?
So you probably made a mistake.
No, I think it was very much, whatever you want to call it, that was his interpretation of the existing approvals. Obviously, the planning board's free to disagree with that, but I guess to get back to the attorney's proposed,
So 101, are we allowed?
maybe to just say, maybe I could ask, if it's all right with you, Chairman Alden, to ask the applicants to clarify on what the attorney just proposed in saying, limiting to what's currently in use there, and maybe just list that off, even though some of the planning board members may not feel it's within tonight's realm to approve all of them, but just to have that on the record.
I think we have no problem doing that, like specifying what those are right now, so the record is clear as to what those are. Before we do that, and on this parking issue, not that we have to do it now, because I think the proposal that I suggested is, I hope, an acceptable one, but one could interpret the ZBA's granting of the variance as having put to rest the parking issue, because the parking rate is in effect at the time the ZBA grants. I sit on my
Zoning
ZBA
board
and I've been there for years.
Doesn't have site plan authority.
They don't have site plan authority, but they have authority to grant a variance from a regulation parking requirement in the zoning reg.
But they didn't. They only
Implicitly,
allowed office
perhaps they
spaces.
did, but that's fine. And then the other thing about the office singular, I think we'd look at the minutes and see in 2006 whether office singular was actually what it means, or whether that is, something in the notice of decision. But to specify the office use now, as requested, I think that's appropriate. We should put that on the record so that we know what's being approved tonight. And then if there's an expansion of that, the applicant can come back. So what's there now is the nutritionist,
Yeah.
and that's occupying what office numbers?
Room 111.
Okay, and then the massage therapist is the other business there, occupying the rooms that were identified, but just again.
102, 103, 104.
We're getting this done.
And then we're being identified the other uses and room numbers for the other two
Okay,
uses.
101 is split between the sports center, and I have my boardroom shop office there. for phone calls and calling clients. 112 is a office just set up, it's just got 2 chairs, a desk. The guy shows up with a client twice a month at that, and it's just like a post office box. And that's in there, and I'll tell you right now, it's hard enough to get what I got in there. As far as
Insurance.
Right? Okay.
Office use, which pretty much determines the one already.
No, we were being asked to identify those even ones that the planning board would not be comfortable approving right now, or
So
may
you're
not
just
be
entering that
comfortable.
into the minutes?
Yes.
He wanted that
Entering it
into the record, so that we all know
Have it in our record.
what was present. Correct.
So that's in the attorney's opinion.
No,
No,
I asked that we have
A
record of-
The attorney to clarify. You are just saying that those are in existence.
That's correct, and I'm not saying they're allowed,
No,
and
just
we're
that
not
they're in
seeking approval for
existence.
them. We simply complied with the request to
That they're
list
in
those,
existence.
articulate them again so that they may be on the record.
I can live with
And you will,
existence.
and you'll include those with me.
Absolutely, yeah.
All right.
They're in.
Okay, anyone?
Yeah, well, to get a general use of office space up there. You want the square footage of each room, and what else do I need? Just so I know, and I can come back with you.
See that gentleman over there?
Yeah, talk to that gentleman.
Talk to that man. He is a encyclopedia set of knowledge.
All right.
And it's updated
Let's
often.
get to this, we've got people waiting for others,
That's
so.
who are you.
I would like to make a motion to accept the application with the changes in hours as specified, and noted by Doherty.
What are the conditions? And what exactly are you proving? Would you read it, please?
Okay, we will.
Going to accept planning board case 14-14 site plan review, the proposal to add an indoor fitness center to the upper level of the facility, expand the hours of operation from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. I mean, nine, and on Sundays, that is not changed, correct?
Sundays 8 to 8.
Is that a change? Okay. And we're gonna schedule for number 4. And also to allow medical offices, change to a wellness center
As conditioned by the zoning board.
as conditioned by the zoning board. And
Did you say
The-
wellness center?
that's what she has.
No, allow medical offices, comma, as conditioned by the zoning board.
In zoning board adjustment decision, ZBA 14-08. To allow medical offices plural.
Are we limiting it to the current massage or nutritionist?
Can I offer maybe some language that might work? Okay, and you can incorporate into your motion if you choose so, to do so. Maybe to say, add another condition that the applicant, will not, expand beyond existing uses, listed at the meeting without, first, or without, coming in for site plan review.
Yeah.
So the condition being, the applicant will not expand
Or exceed
or exceed, what we've already approved.
Current.
Use. Current number of offices.
Yeah.
Without exception.
Okay, that sounds, okay? Yeah. Yeah, what would you like to add?
You want to simplify the language?
I think that for
Applicant will
tonight,
not exceed the number of currently occupied offices without a site plan review.
warehouse. They're listed in the minutes.
I can list them off right now if you want.
You know, my
She's still trying to construct a
my
motion, I
problem
don't
is
remember.
that conditions of the house have not been
Well,
exactly.
is it on the table yet, or is it
There,
still working?
and
It's on the table.
when you have an open statement like that.
Then we can say will not exceed current occupancy. And then in parentheses, what that current occupancy is.
As long as it doesn't mess with.
Yeah.
Go ahead, that's good, yep.
Is that okay?
That's good.
Yeah, I know what Catherine's trying to be sensitive to, but I think
That's
that's,
okay.
I think that's the
If you
best
list it in
path.
Call the
parentheses, that will take it.
Okay.
I need a second.
Second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? There was
You
one,
made it easy.
okay. Did you just, all right.
I can't, I just can't. If it's not specific enough. There's too many of these that just string us up.
All
But
right.
the evening is long.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank everybody in the audience.
All right. Well, good luck.
Bye, guys.
Kevin, thank you.
Next on the agenda, planning board case 1418, site plan review. Proposal to sell used automobiles at 536 West Main Street to general R26 Fighting Buddy. Thank you for your patience. Yes, we are.
Good night.
Right, we need to move around.
Are we on a recess right now?
I need water.
You need water? I got it.
Thank you.
I got it. I'm doing the same thing. Anybody else?
What is the battery? Yep, yeah, we're good.
Anybody else need water?
Must be a Duracell.
Sorry. Sure, everything's still working.
Temperature water and somebody?
All right. Moving right along, is this all we have for this case?
There was an application submitted, but
I
it's
have a
really
copy
just
of
the, I mean, it's, yeah, I can get it for you, but it's really not gonna, I deemed it not to,
Okay,
have a whole lot of relevance to the, proceedings.
all right.
Sorry if
I will turn it over to you, sir.
Yes. I'm Robert Baxter, I live at 536 West Main Street, and I would like permission to sell 3 used cars at a time on in front of my house.
Okay, does everybody have a copy of this?
Well,
No.
yeah, this
Well,
one, I have a
yeah.
drawing.
Okay, that's what I'm gonna pick, okay? First of all, sir, you don't have a parking lot here. You don't even have a lot here, and you don't have a driveway.
I have a driveway.
For the lot, for the,
Yes, I have at least a 6-car driveway.
where is it on here?
It's to the right of the house, right where the garage ends, It's right in front of the garage, actually.
You guys know where this is, it's next to Doty's. So if I'm on your property to the right,
Yeah, it's right to the left of it, right? Left of
is that your
yours?
drive?
Could you
Yeah.
come in, maybe? Right here.
Yes, that's the driveway. And Coming back this way, I could put, 4 more cars.
So where
But
would you,
these cars, I'm not even putting one on the driveway, I'm putting them on my lawn.
Well, you have
So-
cars
Which is in
on-
front.
You already have cars there. You've had them there since yeah. I go to Dunkin' Donuts, I'm addicted. So I pass it all the time when I see cars sitting there all the time for sale.
Yeah.
okay. So it's over here.
It's on this
What?
side. It's on that
It's
side.
back.
Does everyone have the diagram?
We're looking at
I mean, Mr. Baxter submitted this, and he actually drew in where he was intending to put the 3 cars.
Oh,
And he's mentioned, I don't know if everyone caught it, he's requesting 3 cars. Permission to sell 3 cars at a time.
On the right-hand side or the left-hand side?
Right in the middle, where he has the cars
Oh,
drawn.
all right.
Now, is that concrete or, because he
Yeah,
said he was
there's
parking
no
them on
drive,
his lawn?
no curb cut.
How far off the right of way would they be?
The
I mean,
right
in
of
this
way.
drawing, it looks like they're pretty, the state's right of way. They look like they're pretty
No,
close to the house.
State's right away would be over here somewhere. In fact, I could go.
No, off the road.
Oh, off the road.
Off
They'd
Center
be,
Road is what, 30 feet?
from the
Center?
structure, yes, it'd be more than 30 feet. I
So you'd be well out of the,
Right, I'm not on the road at all, it's, the vehicles sit back off the road.
So 30 feet from center line?
yeah. But you have plenty of room between the house and the road to get them back far enough, because
Yep.
you may have cars there for sale, but where are those people who are going to look at those cars going to park?
In the driveway, okay.
But how many of these
Where
are
the
your own
trailer is?
vehicle?
You have a camper
I
there
have
now,
2.
don't you?
You have 2,
Right.
so they can be kept.
Actually, one of them's kept in the garage and the other, I only put one outside.
We have a lot of issues in town where people sell things in front of their house and generate huge traffic problems on Route 311. So that's why I'm
Yeah, I
asking you about
understand.
ample
Yeah,
parking, to
I'm
get people
parking,
off
like,
the road.
I've never had any issues like that.
And, you know, I would almost want you to be required to put up no parking signs along,
The front of the.
The front of them,
That's no problem.
and so that you would indicate parking is here.
Right.
I think
Okay.
also, Dari, you might have some information.
Yeah, we, someone did, a butter did mention that, I assume that's what you're asking, or, that, sometimes some of the items that, the applicant sells, have been actually on her property. So, she wanted to just mention that. I'm not sure what, relief she was seeking,
That's a silly
perhaps
matter.
Mr. Beck.
Well, I spoke with her.
Well, okay,
And she's
yeah.
interested in, she's actually interested in selling me the property.
Yeah, I don't know where
The only thing that's, I have never had a car of mine on her property, but I do
Yeah.
have a boat that I didn't realize was on her property.
Yeah.
That's sitting a little further in. I'm
Yeah,
gonna try to move, but I've spoken, she was here today.
I thought I saw you two talking, and she did understand that it wasn't necessarily a planning board issue, however, she did identify herself and asked that it be submitted as a comment, but I saw you guys, yeah, we're already discussing it.
What do the yellow lines on this diagram represent?
You might want to turn
Yeah,
this around.
those are the towns, that's the town's parcel, like GIS layer.
So this little skinny parcel, looks like, is that a camper parked on it?
That's where he wants to park.
That may
the lawn?
be the,
Yeah,
that's
and
the,
I'm not sure there isn't up there.
Is that part of your parcel,
No,
this
that's,
one?
it's 15, from what she tells me, it's 15 by 150. And she's a little upset about, she's been paying taxes on it, you can't do anything with it, I guess it was a right away at some point.
Interesting. So this is actually your boundary,
Right.
okay. And what am I looking at here in this boundary?
That boundary, that's Uncle Hilton's, the lumber yard.
yeah,
So does he have stuff on your property?
No, we have, there is a fence between the two of us. Doesn't come all the way up to the road, it usually comes about halfway. here.
So these yellow lines are not really representative of the actual boundaries?
Suggestive, I would say.
Yeah, it sounds like it. Okay, well, this evening.
Okay, and motorhome's not gonna be there, right?
No, it's gone now.
Okay.
Unfortunately, my wife took it.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Now, if these are used cars, we have to address oil leaking and all that kind of stuff. It's gonna be on lawn, the grass.
You know, what I do is I maintain my cars before I even sell them. I put it over to make sure that they're not having that kind of problem, oil leak or anything. I wouldn't put it on the grass if it was.
Where do you maintain them?
Right in front of my garage. It would be on the hot top. If there was any oil leaking, it would be contained there at that point.
How about
Yeah.
signage?
So you're suggesting auto
I'm
repair?
not interested in putting, no, I'm not suggesting
They're already doing this, so there will be no signs at
no
all.
signs. I don't want signs.
And what about labeling on the car windshields with yellow, whatever
Well,
that marker thing is?
I think it would be more like, instead of having for sale signs.
In the windows.
In the windows.
Just like a small,
Right.
Yeah.
trying to minimize the visual impact of another, you know, home business sort of thing, is being distracted.
Yeah, it's gonna have to be residential.
But if
That's
it's
a
only
home business?
Portable, it's not really, you can't,
Yeah.
the town. He just wants to know if
I
he's
guess
allowed to.
the board, as long as everything is cleared with the code enforcement officer before it goes into operation, I wouldn't have a problem.
Well, I haven't even asked them about snow storage, because if you're gonna be parked, selling 3 cars there through the winter, you're gonna have to clear snow from there, and where are you gonna put it?
Actually, all the snow comes right up to, right on this side of my land.
But if you're clearing
Clearing the whole frontage.
the whole frontage
Mhm.
throughout the winter
Throughout the winter.
without encroaching over into
No,
the right of
well, I'm
way.
gonna probably end up owning that shortly. He's approached me on purchasing that 15 feet by.
I don't think there's enough snow storage area.
That would be a good application for snow storage.
Are you gonna have any, lights at night, or are you just?
No,
Okay.
This is what you've been doing
right.
for a long time, right?
He's just making it legal.
I didn't know, huh?
I wonder how many cars are allowed then, how many before it's.
Well, I think the condition should be that no more than 3, provided that it's clear with code enforcement officer.
Right.
And with all the other conditions.
He'll have to notify DOT that he's
Exactly.
selling cars, generating customers.
And you may need a curb cut with the DOT.
There is no curbs.
No, you'll have to get an updated driveway permit, because
Okay.
you're now generating commercial traffic to your property. Beyond what is.
So the customers would park in your driveway, there would be a spot.
Oh,
Yep, with DOT.
She mentioned put no parking signs where these cars are, so they're not on the highway.
This is because it's zoning. Okay. It's commercial.
It's weird. Isn't that weird?
I accept that in my life.
All right? Anybody want to put this in front of me?
See you there.
Yeah.
Come on, help us out, Eric.
All right, we've got, DOT needs to be notified,
DOT. Code enforcement.
code enforcement, to get approval, all necessary approval from code enforcement. In compliance with setback regulations, which I think Al will cover one.
Yeah.
Well, Al will determine, I said, setback,
If you can't comply with the conditions, then you can't do it.
right,
No signage,
no signage.
I want them to have no parking signs along the
Well,
front, so
yeah.
nobody parks
We
on
got
Route
no
3.
no
for
parking.
sale
Oh,
sign.
you're talking
No,
about,
no for sale signs on the,
writing on the cars.
or on the sign on the property.
He said that you would just put a small for sale sign, like a standard, what you would find in a hardware store,
Right.
for sale sign in the car
So if
window.
they use a
Instead
car-
of
so we
like
can't say no signage
one
because
owner and all
we're gonna
that.
require him to have some signage and he's gonna put up some signage, so what
He's gonna put up
specific,
no parking
what
sign.
specific signage are
No
we
signage,
asking him?
advertising.
And no advertising
Yeah, except for
On the
a
vehicle.
small
on the vehicle, small
sign that's
on the vehicle.
no bigger than a quarter of the windshield.
26.6% of
Yeah.
the square footage of the windshield.
Bought at Ben Franklin in Salisbury, New Hampshire.
Yeah.
Did you want park, you said no parking
I
signs,
think
the
you
park here signs, didn't you mention?
Do we want to say no
Oh.
parking
No
signs on Route
parking.
3?
You should have no parking signs along the front there, so people
That's
don't
Route 3. You
pull
can't,
off onto Route 3. We have a lot of trouble with that, basic, mainly with yard sales.
So it would go on the telephone pole, I guess.
You can't put them on the telephone pole.
Well, then where would
You have to put it,
Just
put them on
stake-
posts,
put a
stake them
post.
in. Oh, that's a good sign of it, I mean, picture of it.
yeah, that's
just
why we were
signs
just, that's
to
why
be
we were coming up,
as well.
that's why we said there may not be, you may not have enough clearance.
Maybe, is there some way he could indicate on the cars, like since people will be looking at the cars,
You can get those plastic
some sort of
T
sign
things.
that's like,
That's gonna be his problem, to figure out.
Not ours.
all right, just make it nice.
All right, so here's the conditions for the approval of it, okay? Christine, would you like to read them?
I'll try. To meet all DOT, for driveway permit and such items, that DOT requires. All necessary approvals for code enforcement. You said that would also include setbacks. No advertising sales except for the small signs on, signage except for the small signs on the window shields. And some type of no parking signs
Along Route 3.
along Route 3.
Do we want that along Route 3, or do we want it like on the car? This is where you should park beside in the driveway.
No, I'm along Route 3. Typically, just behind the
Maybe just
telephone
one.
poles are acceptable to
Yeah.
DOT
Yeah.
because you have to allow for snow storage for the plowing. But that's where they've allowed us to put ours. It's just behind.
Okay, we need to put that in the book. Christine, you got them written down, 1, 2, 3, 4.
All kind of, not
Um,
1, 2, 3, 4.
Christine,
Yes,
would you maybe want to add a condition of 3 cars, just to get it in there?
correct.
No more than 3 cars at a time?
So that's the motion with all those conditions.
All right, let's put it going. More accepted conditions for approval, no more than 3 cars at a time.
No parking signs along Route 3. No advertising signage except for small ones on the vehicle windows. All necessary approvals of code enforcement, which includes setbacks. And to meet all DOT regulations.
I hate to bring this up now. Too late?
Or no?
No, we haven't.
I'm thinking of used car lots where they have, I know we have a no fluttering sign policy, but pennants and balloons and.
Well, he has to abide, he has to abide
With
by
the-
that.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
code enforcement.
Yeah.
We don't need to
Okay.
put that in the conditions.
All right, so that's all covered
Yeah.
by the code.
Yeah. Okay, the only, let's see,
So we have DOT, code enforcement, advertised signage, no parking signage along Route 3, no more than 3 cars at any one time for sale.
under all code enforcement,
All
I-
necessary approvals,
from code, okay,
code
any,
enforcement, including setbacks.
Are we putting just no advertising signs, period? Because if we are, it should say except what's directly on cars for sale.
I did see that.
You did say that?
She did.
Okay,
Yeah, the
good,
small
perfect.
put,
Yeah.
after
I
code
said I'll
enforcement, put comma, including necessary setbacks.
And lighting? Would there be any additional lighting?
You said it was in Avenue lighting.
You'd have to comply with the
No more lighting
the
than
lighting
Yeah.
ordinance anyway,
Yeah.
which is all downcast.
All right.
Is
Anything
that your
else?
motion, Christine?
Yes.
Is there a second?
Yes, I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Wait,
Wait,
you,
I didn't,
Are you
I didn't
inviting
have
discussion?
discussion, I'm sorry. Anybody from the public? Yes, Selectman Constantino.
Where is the line, where is the line delineated in the zoning where you can have, used car lot and non-used car? Because-
You know where Raven's Roost is?
Yes,
That street that runs down, is that Deer Street?
Yes.
That's the line.
so anybody beyond Deer Street can have a used car lot.
Well, anybody in the general commercial district.
Unless the zoning ordinance were to change.
regarding the no parking sign, I'm just thinking if every time someone came for site plan review approval along that stretch, and the planning board requested multiple signs, for no parking, I think it would create an ugly, it would be aesthetically displeasing.
But it's a safety factor.
Okay.
Especially
maybe just
there.
say
Okay.
People stop and
signage.
park along Route 3, think of it in the winter, and then they get out of their car door in the traveled lane, and they end up down by the high school.
And it's right across from Dunkin' Donuts, so it's a very,
Yep.
Well, then she goes to her.
no, but it is, and that's important because you've got traffic going in and out of there constantly.
She's gonna call up.
But Dari has
I
a
know.
point, and there's so much signage anyway, I'd love to try to minimize the signage. Maybe perhaps put one, strategically place signs that say, no parking for anything on the side of the road. Ever.
Doesn't work. Anybody else in the public?
That's how.
Any other discussion? All right, no? You're looking, you have any other comments?
I have no other comments at this
I
time.
just want to verify.
All right, I'm gonna close it to the public. Planning board, any other discussion?
I have a quick concern. I was just concerned about the repair of cars before he sells them, but it's permitted in that zone.
He hasn't received site plan approval to
So
do
he can
repairs
repair the
on-
cars too as well.
No,
so-
he doesn't have site plan approval to do commercial car
Repairs.
repairs. He can repair his own vehicle,
That's it.
but he can't repair.
The ones that he's
commercial
selling, he can't repair.
No.
Well, didn't he just,
Yeah, he says he makes them in.
he makes repairs in the driveway?
He said he does that in the driveway, so oil spillage will be contained. What he told me.
If he buys them,
And reconditions them,
they are his vehicles.
yeah, until he sells them
But
and
if
he
I
can do his
drive in
own
there
car.
and say, hey, you wanna repair my car?
Are you
Can't
do
serious?
that.
You really gonna use that?
Well,
Does he buy these cars?
it's not the volume in our,
He's not asking for and he's not getting approval to repair, to commercially repair vehicles.
right.
Right,
If he does it and he, you know, a lot of people do it, they don't get caught and it's probably not a big deal, but he knows, you know, that he's not permitted to do that under
Right.
this motion.
Do we have to get into hours of operation too? What is something like that?
Well, he's in a commercial zone,
he's in
so
a commercial
Dunkin'
zone.
Donuts is open.
Yeah, yeah.
You know,
Cars
Till
parked on,
till-
What time is Dunkin' Donuts open till?
On Black Friday, they'll be
It
open
opens
for
at 5
24
a.m.
hours.
Oh.
All right, anything else? Otherwise, let's,
Nope.
we have a motion on the floor, a
Yeah.
second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Okay. Bye. Sorry, thank you for your patience.
That's all right.
And John, thank you so much for your patience. All right, the next one is planning board case 1417, preliminary site plan conceptual consultation, a discussion of potential uses.
I can understand, I don't want it to look
Output
like
of going on
a
it.
sideshow.
Discussion of potential uses at 570 Laconia Road in the mixed use
I
district.
want to keep that area clean, that is.
Yes, it's right next to a
I'm trying to
Lakeland
make the house look
chiropractic
nice
going
now,
towards
as
Laconia.
much as I can get done.
That's the one I printed out.
Yeah, I wish I could get a roof on.
All right,
it.
John, do your thing.
All right, good
But
evening,
I'm
folks. My name is
physically
John
killing my
Bernard.
house and built
I
full of red, so
am
it's
glad
been-
I had your back.
It's been difficult.
How's that?
You'll get there.
Yeah, it will.
You'll get there. Take care.
Thank you.
No, I don't think I ever got there.
On the record.
Yeah, this is conceptual.
So, as you may have noticed, I have built a building on 570 Laconia Road, and I would like to have an office space for it. But there's no sense of coming in here for a permit for an office space until I have a tenant, because according to the town, that I have to have a specific tenant before you get an approval. So, and it being mixed use, it also, if I didn't find a tenant, I always do it as a residential house, if I need it to be. There was a question, and I guess we can discuss it, which will just get a little juicy here, that because we have a parking area on it, in a mixed use, can you have mixed use? Can you? And Catherine's going right to the page, so we'll just hear from her.
That's what I was looking at. I'm listening to you.
So, that's basically it. I'm just coming here to say if you have any questions about it. I was also approached by Al recently that there's a walkway for the parking lot for Awakening Chiropractors that is to be put in. I was expecting to do it this week with the snow. I'm not so sure. We'll see what this winter turns out, but I am still willing to put it in and planning on putting it in. That's my discussion. Go for it, Catherine. What you got?
So did I hear you say that until you have a tenant?
Right.
Because you haven't, then you're saying you haven't determined the use of the building?
I haven't, that's
Okay.
correct. And I did it before with the Awakening Chiropractic building. I came in here for a retail, a garage, a office space, and I thought I was in compliance, and 3 years later, the town had written me a letter stating that you have to come in for every specific business. So, that's a whole nother situation that some of us are.
Then why are you in here, since you don't have a specific business?
I'm here to say hi.
He missed us.
I just want you to know that I'm still alive, I'm kicking, I'm well, which I know you're concerned about. So,
How
go
many
ahead.
square feet of commercial space is in that? So I don't know if you'd use.
21.
21?
Yeah. 2100, yeah, small building.
Any,
The 2 floors? or is it
What
just
Two
three?
types?
floors, that's 2 floors, the 21's 2 floors.
what types of businesses are you looking at?
Whatever you would like to rent it for.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's what I
So
was
we
gonna
should
ask.
eliminate
Any-
It's
just office
what we
space,
don't
right?
want in there.
How many
Just
offices?
built, it's, yeah, it's right
One.
here.
I don't even know what office it would be, never mind. I would like to do one, because I did multiple tenants at the one next
we
door,
have-
and that's a problem, so it would be one. That's how I am, yeah, one, I only want one tenant. It's much easier for me to deal with one tenant.
You want one tenant,
I
that
do.
whole building?
Yeah, it's not
21
that big.
square feet.
100 square feet really
Doing
isn't.
what?
It looks, what?
Any, you must have some idea, I mean, you're thinking in terms of a lawyer, or you...
No, I would love a lawyer, that would be great. Maybe I can get a deal with him when I need him, but, well, you never know. I did have someone who approached me recently, and they wanted to put in a mortgage, you know how mortgage companies work,
Yeah.
you know.
Like the one that's next to the, up the road, next to that used car lot, that little yellow house.
Oh, yeah,
I think that's the automotive finance.
that's automotive finance, this one's more housing
Well, still the
financing,
same
same
thing.
thing.
Yeah.
So I thought that would be a good fit. As we all need to be sensitive to parking, as we heard earlier today, you know,
21 square feet, how many parking spaces do we need?
8. Oh, less, really 7.
You know,
Your homework, don't you? It would be 7 and then 1 for each employee. If that was retail stores and shops.
Right, changes, I read that.
Yeah. I mean, professional office is 1 for every 200 square feet, so, and that would be allowed there, I believe.
Right, well, wouldn't a mortgage be a professional office? A
Yes.
mortgage broker be a professional office?
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay, thank you. Chairman, may I ask Mr. Bernard?
Yeah.
So how many total spot, if you needed 7 for that building, how many total spots would you wind up with on that
I think I can
particular
get
site?
15 in there.
Yeah.
And you have to have 10 feet wide and 18 feet long. And you have to have another 18 feet to back up behind to make them a legitimate parking spot.
And you need handicap spots.
You'd have to have 1 handicap.
Right, down by the
Van,
front.
with a van, so a van can.
Yeah, usually those are 1.5 times the width
Yeah.
of a normal spot. Yep.
And the spots upland are spoken for?
Well, that,
Have that.
that's, they do park their cars there.
Yeah.
But I think I'm gonna have enough to allow them to do what they need to do and to do what I need to do. I'll have plenty of parking. I calculated that. I looked at it before I built it. I determined the size of the building that I could build to have the parking spots. This isn't my first time doing this.
This isn't your first rodeo, is it? Yeah, we've been.
We're friends.
Your personal storage building. Ah,
Today it is. I hope tomorrow it isn't, but today it is.
okay, any other questions, any other comments, any other on
Okay,
the
so you
planning
didn't
board?
need anything, you just wanted to come in and visit and let us know.
Well, yeah, I think, I think it's just good business to come in front of you and say, look, this is what I'm thinking, this is what I built, this is where I'm at. If there's any feedback right now, I'd like to address it. I understand how it works, there's usually.
All right,
Better
and
ask.
any comments from the audience, public? Selectman Constantino or Mr. Sasan?
Well, I just, John brought up something interesting at the very beginning of when he started speaking about the, and I've heard this too, sort of the idea that multiple uses maybe can't take place in certain zones and they can in others. And, I feel like, I haven't necessarily seen, what I've read in the zoning ordinance doesn't always mesh with exactly what I hear people saying about that topic. So maybe it is, I don't know, a worthwhile discussion to have, if not tonight, at some point, because I do see some differing opinions on that. I mean, I don't know, anyway, sorry, maybe that was worthless.
I think that's a worthy discussion because it's brought up. And, if I look through what Tilton has and what we have in mixed use, there are a lot of residential and commercial all in one building. As you go up and down, I don't even know where to start and begin. You can go to Gear Auto, which is really part of that's in Simmons, so we won't use that one. And we go to Northern Cleaning, which has an apartment upstairs and then downstairs. I think they have 2 apartments, one upstairs, one downstairs, and in front of it is their office space. And then, I don't even know if the guy who's selling the lawnmowers out there, if he even has but he lives in it right next to the post office in Winnisquam. He sells all those commercial lawnmowers and stuff like that. I don't know if he has a plan or not, but that's another mixed use.
So some of those may be non-conforming, they may have lived there as residences and then started those businesses.
Well, no,
Well,
not that
but-
particular case, I know background on that one.
So,
Yeah,
it's an interesting topic though.
it is, and I don't really even know I don't even think that anything that I've read in your regulations address it.
It doesn't.
How unfortunate, so we have to create a precedent here.
Yay.
Yeah. Well, it's an interesting topic because in a mixed use, you can change it from commercial to residential and it's completely accepted and want to just bore you guys, I really don't have anything.
No, no.
I'm just packing up and going home, I can see it, I'm very observant, I'm watching.
Oh, no,
No, I mean,
I'm
I
kidding.
I'm captivated.
you sat here all this time, through all of this stuff, yawning the whole time, I watched you.
I had a coffee before I got here.
Stroking your goatee,
Yes.
then it's your turn and you're just saying, hi, how are you doing? Hope you have a nice Thanksgiving.
Pretty much.
Just to let you know, Mr.
Yes.
Bernard, that
No, but we
Yes,
know
sir.
why you're
You
doing
need to
it,
have
because you
one
know that we
van
are always
accessible
very
space.
suspicious of you, John.
which means you'll need 2 spaces, because you need one that's a space, and then the van accessible portion of that also 8 feet wide, so you need 16 feet dedicated to an accessible parking lot. I'm
For
looking at-
handicap.
For handicap, it has to be, minimum of 1 space has to be van accessible.
Okay.
We'll
We'll work
work
on
on this later.
So, who's far?
Thank you.
You're welcome. I can send you the link if
This
you'd
is
like.
what you wanted to hear before Thanksgiving.
I don't mind, I approve.
And the signage cannot have the word handicap on it.
What do we use nowadays? What's
Accessible
appropriate?
parking space is space.
So you're saying it's not 16 feet wide or 15 feet wide, it's 20 feet wide?
It's 16, it has to be 8-foot space,
Yeah.
van space, and then an 8-foot access aisle. which
8 foot unload space.
Unload space, which has to be striped.
Go to
I'll
Walmart,
show you the sign.
Lot.
What if I just use a
Yeah,
dirt
yes.
parking lot? How are we striping that? All right.
You have to go out every day and dig the lines of the TV.
Well, that's an interesting question, really, if you think about it.
Oh, yeah.
Dirt.
What if
I would
you're
know,
in
but
their parking
there's a
lot?
link.
Can't stripe
Do they
it.
require you to
Federal
asphalt it
government.
for a van accessible ADA?
I've never heard of that before.
You never know.
Me either. That's an interesting question, isn't it?
That's 2.
We'll be just
Very
beginning,
straight
just getting
figure
warm.
And when
So
you
how
do
many
stuff
total
like that with
spaces
shelter
does you need to have for a potential business there, like, say, a mortgage?
7
7
Plus-
plus 1
plus
for
1
Office
for each employee.
space, office space. I thought you said it was 200.
Oh, for office space, I'm sorry, it is, it's 200
One
So
square feet.
5 plus 1 other.
Yeah,
So, again, what's the total that he needs for that office?
5 plus, and one of those would be handicapped, right? 200, no, wait, no,
Probably 10.
no, 10. You need more, because it's less square footage.
So it's 10,
So you need 11 because you have leftover square footage.
Yeah.
so 11, he needs 11 parking spaces plus the 6 that are exclusive to Awakening Chiropractic, so he needs 17 parking spaces, one of which has to be a 16-foot
Which is
van
like
accessible.
Right,
Am
now,
I correct in asking that?
now does a government building have to also have those same parking requirements?
Van acceptable?
Yes, 16 feet?
The ADA?
Yeah.
Yeah, the ADA is standard adult parking lot.
Mhm.
Yeah, obviously it's 200 square feet.
But it doesn't say how
We don't
deep they have to
that
be,
here.
so they could be really.
They have to be 18 feet deep, normal parking spots are 18 feet deep, but 18 feet to be able to back out. If you get into, there's normal parking regulations. And if that has changed, it's more than what it used to be, it used to be 1.5. And what they normally do is they take a half of one and they would stripe it, they hash mark it, and then you put the other one next
But
to
if
it.
you have
and
more
that was-
than, if you like 3 spaces, you have to have space, stripe, space, 5-foot stripe, space.
I don't know how we're gonna do that in dirt, but.
So if we get 15 spots, then I don't know. 6 are for Awakening, right?
He's worried about getting someone in there
I don't know, I'll come back.
later on
and-
down the road.
See what
Look at like-
Yeah, no, isn't it nice?
I'll get it upstairs, I thought I put it in here,
Okay, well,
but it's in the selectmen's
so
stuff.
this one is good.
Anything else?
Car lots don't have to have those ADA acceptable things?
Pardon?
Car lots? Do you have to have all that parking for car lots? For commercial
Handicap.
parking?
Any,
For commercial?
any parking lot.
So
there any
have that?
Yeah.
Do we have that?
How many businesses don't have, there's gotta be some, like,
Oh, I know,
some lower threshold.
I'm sure there are.
When my
Yeah.
husband ended
Like
up in a
this
wheelchair, I
one.
was notifying lots of them.
But is
You
there,
also have
there's
to have
no
a
lower
sign.
threshold?
Yes, they have to have a
They
sign
have to have a
designating
sign.
it, so
It
it's a
can't be just
handicap.
painted on the ground. In state of New Hampshire, there has to be a sign, a 5-foot sign.
Now, I could do that in a dirt parking lot.
That's right.
Yeah, there must be a number,
I thought, I don't know. Al has all that information.
yeah,
So,
And
For every
it sounds like
25
you do.
spaces, you
Thank
have to have one.
okay.
oh, what if you have
Don't-
less than 25?
You have to have one.
Right, that's what,
Okay,
but
less
what
than
if,
20.
From 1 to 25, you have to have one space. I
Just
don't
vans.
remember the formula for how many van spaces.
One.
So for every additional 25, you have to have an ADA. So if you've got 50 spaces, you've got to have 2 spaces. If you've got 51, you're going to have 3.
So don't put in 51.
At least one parking
There's-
space
there's
must be
one-
van accessible.
Right.
Every 6 accessible parking spots.
There's another
There must
part
be
of it
one
too, which you
van
can do a compact
So,
car space, I
You
think
wouldn't
is
have to
smaller
have another
too.
one until you've done 2.
But I don't know if they have that in their form.
100 to 200
You're gonna turn it
spaces.
into a parking garage?
They just level that whole-
That's where they have compact car, parking spaces.
They have them.
They'll need to turn it into a
McDonald's.
I think Concord.
That's not bad.
Yeah, they do. They don't have enough room. They say this is for compact cars. Is there anything in there for compact cars? Like a designated compact car space?
No, this
For
is- this
ADA?
is just ADA.
Not for ADA. Oh, you're just looking up
No,
ADA.
that's-
Yeah, this is just ADA.
All right.
There's no-
Anything else? We still have minutes to get through.
All right, I'll let you go. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, John.
I appreciate it. I'll be
glad
back.
anytime you wanna drop in, just visit. Have a happy Thanksgiving.
Thanks, same to you all. Safe, happy holidays, avoid the storm.
At least another, oh wait, no, sorry.
That's kids first.
All right, moving right along,
Okay, please.
review the October 28th, 2014 minutes. I read them a long time ago, but I,
Which one is this? The 1028?
1028.
Good night, all. Have a happy Thanksgiving.
Thanks, Ian.
Just remember, you are what you eat.
Should I gobble now?
Where the hell did that come from?
And I go, I don't like turkey.
It's a blind light, call something like that. It only comes with Thanksgiving, really. So.
I was so out of the blue.
Eric.
And then I'm gonna be creamed onions. It's like the only thing I really like on Thanksgiving.
Asterisk, except for Catherine Dawson.
So
That's not a
Oh,
problem.
dear.
I have no problems.
Is this almost?
Did everybody read the
All right,
minutes?
so,
Yes.
yes.
Motion to accept the minutes of October 28th, 2014.
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
I can't approve such perfect minutes.
No, he
I
does
read
a
these several
great
times.
job.
I
Looking for
compared
something I
yours.
have to disagree with or a mistake, and I can't find any, so.
All right, do we have any correspondence?
I read the
no.
selectmen minutes.
No
They're not too
correspondence,
bad.
any other business?
These are great.
Yeah, yeah.
I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Seconded it.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Oh, my
Time
God,
for a
it was
drink.
exhausting night.
Have a happy
Here, here.
Thanksgiving, everybody.
Gobble, gobble.
Yeah.
I thought that went pretty well, I thought, considering, I thought.
It would've been a lot better if you hadn't brought the stinking lawyer.
I know.
Oh,
Oh, man.
wait a minute.
Wait. That's unpaid. Can you
Yeah, don't worry.
that part out?
I'll say it again.
She doesn't care.
You wanna hear some selectmen's meeting?